Yes, ni the QuickTimes News rero nk'uko twabibamenyereje. Iyi ni debate cyangwa se ikiganiro uhagarariye u Rwanda yagiriye muri Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika, hari kubera inama ya UN, aho yavuze ko mu buryo bukwiriye ubumwe bwabaye intego nyamukuru muri iki cyumweru cyo mu rwego rwo hejuru. Mu magambo rero yagize ati kubera ko ubumwe ari bwo shingiro mu gukemura ibibazo by'ingutu, inyinshi muri zo zikaba zirenga imipaka n'inyungu z'ibihugu. Yashimangiye ko rero mu magambo yaho yagize ati kuva kera cyane ibihugu bya Afurika ndetse n'utundi turere twahejejwe inyuma byahuye n'ihungabana ry'ubukungu ku isi, nta nkunga ihagije ihabwa n'amahanga. Twibutse ko nyuma ya jenoside yakorewe abatutsi mu mwaka w'1994 abanyarwanda bisanze mu masangane aho bahisemo ubumwe mu macakubiri. Yavuze ko igihugu cye kiri mu bihugu byagize uruhare runini mu kohereza ingabo mu butumwa bw'amahoro muri Afurika hose. Ni mu gihe rero hakomeje kwiyongera iterabwoba ry'inyeshyamba zikabije mu majyepfo y'umugabane, iterabwoba muri Sahel no kuba hari imitwe yitwara gisirikare ya jenoside yatewe inkunga na leta ku mipaka y'u Rwanda. Mu magambo yiwe rero yagize ati umutekano ntugerwaho gusa no gucecekesha imbunda, binagerwaho no kubaka gahunda ihamye kandi igamije imiyoborere myiza ku isi ishobora guhangana n'ibibazo byihuse. Akomeza agira ati avuga ko ivugurura ry'ibigo by'imari by'ibihugu byinshi byuzuzanya no kuvugurura akanama gashinzwe umutekano, kuko byombi ari ngombwa mu gushyiraho uburyo bunoze bwo kuyobora imiyoborere ku isi. Ni the QuickTimes News rero yari incamake y'iyi ikiganiro cyangwa se y'iyi nama iri kubera ahangaha muri New York muri Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika. Ni inama ya UN kuko maze iminsi mugenda mubibona. Ngira ngo ndagira rero mbareke mukomeze mwumve iri jambo mu rurimi rw'icyongereza. Ni the QuickTimes News rero nta kindi usabwa uretse kureba aho handitse subscribe maze ugakandaho tugakomeza kubana 5 kuri 5 mu makuru nk'aya ngaya.
Je donne maintenant la parole.
And I'll give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Ernest Rwamucyo, head of the delegation of Rwanda.
Excellencies, heads of delegations, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I would like to congratulate Ambassador Philemon Yang on assuming the presidency of the 79th UN General Assembly and assure him of Rwanda's full support. As we conclude the 79th United Nations General Assembly debate, unity has been a central theme throughout this year's high-level week, and rightly so. Rwanda is of the view that in today's increasingly fractured world, unity is central to addressing pressing issues, most of which transcend borders and national interests. Contemporary challenges require ambitious and coordinated action that paves the way for equal access to opportunity, ensures sustainable development, and contributes to global peace and security. As we approach the second half of this decade, solidarity is key to achieving targets under Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals. Rwanda strongly endorses the UN Secretary General's stimulus package as a timely and necessary intervention to address the pressing challenges facing the global economy and the most vulnerable populations. The package represents a crucial step towards creating a more equitable and resilient global financial system, particularly as developing nations continue to grapple with the impacts of climate change and widening inequality. For too long, African countries and other marginalized regions have borne the brunt of global economic shocks without sufficient support from the international community. This stimulus package not only acknowledges these disparities, but also seeks to collect them through targeted financial aid, debt relief, and sustainable development initiatives. By addressing structural inequalities and ensuring that resources reach those who need them most, the Secretary General's proposal is a call to action for global solidarity. It will empower nations to rebuild more sustainably with renewed focus on green energy, digital transformation, and poverty eradication. Rwanda believes that now is the time for bold multilateral action, and this package is an essential step towards securing a more just, inclusive, and sustainable future for all. Mr. President, Rwanda commends the efforts by the Secretary General and Member States for convening the Summit of the Future. This summit and the adoption of the Pact of the Future are crucial steps in boosting action to protect the interests of present and future generations. Rwanda knows firsthand what division and fracture can do to a society, let alone a community of nations. In the aftermath of the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994, we Rwandans found ourselves at a crossroads where we chose unity over division for our own survival. This choice was not an easy one, but it was the right one and has defined Rwanda's post-genocide nation building ever since. The world now stands at a similar crossroads with a choice to make, to choose unity for the collective good. This is what the Kwibuka Frame of Hope monument in memory of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, recently built in the gardens of this United Nations building, stands to remind the world. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, reports show that Africa is set to be the engine of future global growth in the decades to come. With the world's fastest growing middle class, estimated to encompass 1.1 billion people by 2060, Africa will take the center stage of global affairs. However, this feat cannot be achieved without the adequate tools to both finance the decarbonization of our economies and mitigate the effects of climate change. Building resilient economies in the global south is an urgent priority, which goes hand in hand with increased solidarity from those who are most responsible for carbon pollution. The pay-to-pollute model is not a viable option. Solidarity and investment are. Consequently, advanced economies should reduce their emissions faster and invest more in African autonomous transition. In a few weeks, the world will gather in Baku, Azerbaijan for COP29. The international community should seize this opportunity to pledge more green investments in Africa. Additionally, Rwanda encourages nations to join hands and conclude an ambitious global plastics treaty based on a comprehensive approach that addresses the full life cycle of plastics at the upcoming INSC5 in Busan. We have a historic opportunity to demonstrate our collective resolve to end plastic pollution for the benefit of current and future generations. Rwanda stands ready to play a positive role in that direction. Excellencies, esteemed delegates, the year 2024 marks 2 decades since Rwanda's first deployment of troops under the United Nations peacekeeping banner. Today, Rwanda is among the top contributors with deployment in missions across Africa. And yet, insecurity in our region has reached unprecedented levels. This is evidenced by the rising threat of radicalized insurgency in the southern part of the continent, terrorism in the Sahel, or the presence of state-sponsored genocide militias right by our border. Mr. President, no more than ever, cosmetic fixes must be avoided in favor of long-term solutions addressing the root cause of these conflicts. Security is not only achieved by silencing the guns, it is also achieved by building a fit-for-purpose global governance system capable of quickly adapting to crises. Reform of multilateral financial institutions is complementary to the reform of the United Nations Security Council, as both are crucial for creating a more equitable and effective global governance system. The financial institutions which shape global economic policies and the UN Security Council, which ensures peace and security, must evolve to better address the diverse needs of today's world. Without reform, these bodies risk perpetuating inequalities, particularly for Africa, which has historically been underrepresented in decision-making processes. Reforming both the financial institutions and the UN Security Council is vital to ensure fair representation, foster trust among nations, and effectively respond to the pressing challenges of the modern era, such as economic instability, climate change, and conflict. In this regard, Rwanda fully supports the reform of the UN Security Council to enhance its effectiveness and efficiency. Such reforms are necessary to address long-standing injustices faced by Africa, ensuring that the Council becomes more responsive to contemporary global challenges and dynamics. Only through these changes can we build a system grounded in equitable rules, unity, and solidarity. As we conclude this General Assembly, let us remember that history will judge us not by the challenges we face, but how we respond to them. The reforms we seek are not just necessary, but inevitable to ensure a future grounded in justice, equity, and solidarity. Rwanda stands ready to work with all nations, and we believe together we can build the world we want, one where no nation or continent is left behind. Let us seize this moment, for the future of humanity depends on it. I thank you for your kind attention.
Je remercie le chef.
I thank the head of delegation of Rwanda.
Rwanda proposes the following concrete steps to address the root causes of the conflict and promote regional stability. Number one, the DRC must genuinely commit to the Nairobi and Rwanda processes. These processes are the best pathway to addressing the underlying issues in the DRC conflict. Two, the DRC must stop its support to the FDLR, including the financing, distribution of weapons, and integration of this group in the Congolese armed forces. Rwanda also calls on the DRC to endorse the harmonized neutralization plan approved by its own security organs. 3. The DRC must put an end to hate speech and violence targeting Congolese Tutsi communities. Targeting any ethnic group for who they are is a grave violation of human rights and seriously undermines any prospects of lasting peace. Fourth and last, the DRC must organize the safe and dignified return of Congolese refugees. This is not just a humanitarian imperative, it is an important building block for peace and reconciliation between Congolese communities. I thank you for your kind attention.
Le représentant de la République démocratique du Congo a demandé la parole pour une nouvelle déclaration. Je lui donne la parole.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, ce n'était pas dans mon intention de répondre à la parole, mais le langage utilisé par le Rwanda n'est pas du tout courtois. Vous allez noter que le Rwanda systématiquement dit the DRC must, comme si la RDC était la seule partie qui avait l'obligation de faire quoi que ce soit, alors que le Rwanda est un pays qui a envahi le territoire d'un autre pays sur lequel il se trouve avec plus de 4500 troupes et sur lequel il commet de graves violations des droits de l'homme, notamment le bombardement des camps, comme le bombardement du camp de Mugunga, connu de tout le monde. Lorsque nous parlons du hate speech, le discours de haine, je voudrais me demander si on le dit par plaisir ou par routine. Vous venez chez quelqu'un, vous le sortez de sa maison, vous le mettez dehors, il habite à la Belle Étoile, il ne va pas cultiver ce champ, il est sous la pluie, il vit dans la promiscuité et vous attendez de cette personne-là un discours d'amour. Après, on vient claironner ici le discours de haine. Nous sommes vraiment désolés. Le discours de haine, qu'est-ce qu'on entend par discours de haine? Est-ce que le fait pour une victime d'une grave violation des droits de l'homme de se plaindre doit être constitué comme un discours de haine? Et cette assemblée, ce Conseil de sécurité ne peut pas établir une balance entre les femmes violées à la suite de l'agression armée rwandaise, des femmes violées, les enfants tués, les camps de déplacés bombardés et ce qu'ils appellent ici discours de haine. Où est la balance? Parce que le Rwanda veut claironner la question des FDLR, qui lui sert de prétexte pour demeurer sur le territoire congolais. Je vais vous dire que si aujourd'hui on repérait là où se trouve le FDLR et qu'on éliminait ces FDLR-là, le Rwanda va se tourner derrière le discours de haine pour maintenir sa présence sur le territoire congolais. En réalité, le problème n'est ni le FDLR, ni le fameux discours de haine, mais c'est le pillage des ressources de la République démocratique du Congo. Et ça a été dit ici, dans les zones contrôlées par le M23, que dis-je, les zones contrôlées par le Rwanda, parce que le M23, en fait, en termes d'effectifs aujourd'hui, il a été démontré que le Rwanda a déployé 4500 troupes sur le territoire congolais. Et le M23 n'ont même pas 2000 troupes sur le terrain. Ça veut dire qu'aujourd'hui, la donne a changé. Ce n'est pas le Rwanda qui soutient le M23, mais c'est plutôt le M23 qui vient au secours aux troupes rwandaises qui ont envahi le territoire congolais. Ce n'est pas moi qui l'ai dit. C'est le rapport du groupe d'experts des Nations Unies que vous, les membres du Conseil de sécurité, avez mandaté sur terrain pour vérifier la situation et pour vous apporter la réalité du terrain. Vous le savez autant que moi. Donc, il n'est pas question ici des FDLR principalement.